we'll talk about Geoffrey Chaucer and Canterbury Tales. Natasha, please start.
The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer is a poem.
Oh, I can't hear you, Natasha.
The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer is a poem. It famously captures and satirizes life in the late Middle Ages.
Good. Anya.
Geoffrey Chaucer was a son of a wine merchant who was born in 1314. He lived during 14th century, an age of transition. He was educated, served in royal households in admin position, and able to travel for the crown to France and Italy, and he had variety of jobs, so witnessed the economic, political, and social changes in England.
Okay, good. Natasha, next.
Chaucer's work, experience, and travels allowed him to see people from all levels of society. It allows him to write characters who represent the lower, middle, and upper classes. This in itself is unique. No longer does literature only present the lives of kings and warriors.
Okay, so talking about the genre, we see that finally people who are ordinary people and represent all layers of the society were presented in the tales, in the story. Okay, and next.
The Canterbury Tales is a book of stories written by Geoffrey Chaucer. It was written in the 14th century. It was one of the first books to be written in Middle English. The book is about a group of pilgrims traveling from London to Canterbury. As they travel alone, each person tells a story to pass the time. Chaucer planned to write 120 stories, with each person telling 2 stories on the way there and 2 on the way back. However, only 23 were completed and 1 was partially finished. 2 of the stories are written in prose, the others are written in verse. They were so popular that he was invited to read his stories to the king and royal court.
Okay, good. And some important moments about the Canterbury Cathedral and who the pilgrims were. Natasha, Canterbury Cathedral.
The Murder of Thomas Becket, the Canterbury Tales is about a group of people who are pilgrims. They are traveling to an important sacred site. In the Middle Ages, many Christian people went on pilgrimages to Jerusalem, Rome, Santiago de Compostela, and Canterbury. Canterbury Cathedral was a famous pilgrimage site because it contained the shrine, a place for remembering of St. Thomas Becket.
Okay, Anya, tell us about the pilgrims, like this part.
Okay. Many pilgrims used to meet together in London. The Canterbury Tales tells of the meeting of a group at an inn in Southwark, which was a village south of the Thames River and now making up part of London. This was a good place to meet because people from the north could cross the Thames River by London Bridge.
Very good. Okay, so the pilgrims met and they started telling the tales. Yeah, so because the tales are told by the individuals, and these individuals they represent very different characters. Okay, good. And now let's go to our book and talk about the story in general. Okay, so once again, Natasha, start.
Birth and education. He was born in 1340. Geoffrey Chaucer was educated, and he also traveled to France and Italy. Lifetime and historical period. He lived at the age of transition from Middle Ages to modern age. Life experience. He had a variety of jobs, so he could witness the economic, political, and social change in England. Best known work, Canterbury Tales, is a collection of short stories. Chaucer is known as the father of the English language.
Okay, good. And tell about the story, please. The structure of the tales.
By the form, Canterbury Tales is the collection of short stories. They represent various genres, poetry, tall tale, realistic fiction, etc. It was a unique work for its time because the stories tell us not about legendary people with superpowers, but about ordinary people who represent different classes.
And tell about the story elements and structure as well.
The story is set in a way from London to Canterbury. It takes place in the 14th century. A pilgrim gather in London and travel to the shrine of Thomas Becket, and they tell stories along the way. The story has such structure. Three parts. General prologue introduces all characters, their appearance, professions, and some moral qualities. Then a characters prologue, in which every character tells us about themselves, and characters tale, where they tell us romances, life stories, and allegories.
Okay, and could you please tell me about the characters? Who are the characters in Canterbury Tales?
They are knight, prioress, friar, merchant,
Okay, if
man.
we look at them, they will be knight, prioress, and merchant. They will be the representatives of nobility. Yeah. So like prioress and friar, then this part.
Then merchant, man of law, clerk, and franklin are representative of
upper class.
Upper classes, yes.
And they are they deal with commerce. Yeah. So there is something commercial. So then there are this part is.
There are specific characters: a haberdasher, dyer, carpenter, viewer,
weaver, ткач, да, weaver, ткати, weaver,
weaver, tapestry maker, and none of them contribute a story.
Yeah, so these people, they are craftsmen. Craftsmen, як ті, що працюють руками, crafts. So these people are craftsmen. So then, and they didn't contribute to a story, meaning they don't tell anything. So next group.
The next group includes cook, shipman, a physician, and wife of boss.
So, and who are these people?
They are a middle class.
We see already, so that these people are middle class people, and the rest of them are lower class people.
Person, plowman, municipal miller, reef, summoner, and gardener.
Okay, thank you. So we see that all classes were represented in Canterbury Tales, starting from the nobility. So the people who want to be the nobility, then upper class, and then lower, and lower. So this is the part about the characters. Okay, and just tell us about the literary characteristics.
A frame story, a literary device in which a smaller story are told to reason the context of the tale. Heroic couplets to pair the lines of poetry that must rhyme. Satire. Chaucer uses it to point out the faults of the society. For this, he uses verbal irony and physiognomy.
Physiognomy means physical and connected with your body. Physiognomy. And what are the types of tales, Natasha?
Allegory, a story with the purpose of teaching a moral lesson. Characters and events represent abstract qualities or ideas. The writer intends a secondary meaning. And romance or life stories, a story focusing on the adventures of knights and the challenges they face. Life stories tell about the lives of ordinary people.
Okay, thank you. So this were Canterbury Tales and Geoffrey Chaucer. Once again, how do we call Geoffrey Chaucer? What is his name in the English literature?
He is the father
The
of
father of
English.
the English language.
Absolutely. He is the father of the English literature, and if we compare him to, for example, Ukrainian writers, what kind of a writer can he be compared to?
With Котляревський.
Then
Yeah,
to
to
Kotlяревський.
Kotlяревский. Okay.